Well, I mean, this actually gets into something that I wanted to talk about, which is the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are devotees of Lord of the Rings that are like
up in arms.
They're up in arms, right? Like okay, well, here's what I'll say. And okay, I need to set up the context for this. I was never a fan of Lord of the Rings before the movies, right? I remember seeing the Hobbit cartoon. There was the Lord of the Rings cartoon that Ralph Bakshi did that was kind of unfinished, right? There's so there have been attempts to make Lord of the Rings in the past, and I never read the books, and I feel bad about that because everyone who's read those books just swears it's like the great. I mean, it's like poetry. It's like, and if you're a real devotee of Lord of the Rings, it may as well be the Bible because people are really dedicated to that. And also, there's been much talk about, the race swapping in it. I honestly don't care. If it's a story and characters that I'm engaged in, great. But here's what I'll say. I didn't care about I gotta, you know what? I gotta plug in my computer.
Yeah, are you still you're still on, so
I'm still on.
Yeah.
Great.
No, you're
plugging the power.
We've gotten everything you said, so
okay. Let's get back. But what I'm saying is that okay, so I'm not a devotee and not a super fan of Lord of the Rings. Having said that, let me put it this way. I saw the trailer during the Super Bowl for the Rings of Power, and I felt nothing. I don't know what the story is. I don't know who I'm supposed to care about or why I'm supposed to care about them. There seems some very CGI enhanced moments. There's what's Galadriel. She's like holding on to this thing, and it looks so like shot on a green screen. That kind of bothered me. And it looked like, and it was very short. It was like a minute. It looked like a PowerPoint presentation to sell the Lord of the Rings show to Amazon. It didn't look like a trailer for something that was engaging. The music was forgettable. Now, contrast that, and I want everyone to do this after this live stream. Go watch the first trailer for the Lord of the Rings. Okay. Not a fan of Lord of the Rings. I saw that trailer. I remember when I first saw that trailer, which came out like maybe even more than a year before the first Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship, right? Like came out, blown away, right? There's that shot, Elijah Wood as Frodo, where he's reaching up for the ring and the ring is up there and you see Gandalf and just like there's something. And then the music, the score, go watch that original trailer for Lord of the Rings. It immediately was on my radar for a film that I wanted to see. I then became a fan of the Lord of the Rings movies, and Peter Jackson's trilogy is something we don't talk about a lot. And we don't talk about it a lot because you know what? It's pretty awesome. And it holds up. You know, if you watch it now, it totally holds up. So I became a fan of those movies, and then the extended editions on Blu-ray, which are amazing. But this Rings of Power, I'm thinking, who am I engaged in as a kid? Where are there hobbits? It didn't even, some people have pointed out, it doesn't even look like it's Lord of the Rings. It could just be generic fantasy, you know? So that's sort of my take on it is, you know, I'm all in if it looks interesting, but it took one trailer, the first trailer for the Lord of the Rings, to put that on my radar as something to see. It was something that every year I went back and saw each of the Lord of the Rings films on opening night and love that series. The Hobbit, of course, was, well, that's up for debate. I think a lot of people would like to forget The Hobbit, but I don't know. I don't know what to say. It just, I was not super excited. Alan, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think my mistake was listening to a lot of people on the internet kind of trash the posters that came out.
Right.
And it was about the race swapping stuff. And I started getting uncomfortable with the discussion. I get it. I understand it. I understand why people are saying it, but we are
Mhm.
in this time where, you know, we kind of do have to take a look at that. But at the same time, um, you know, I think I just said to myself, I don't know enough about what this product is to really say thumbs up or thumbs down. And so I just go back to where I always start, and that's, if you're gonna, as long as you tell me a good story, you know, I don't really care about the wokeness or non-wokeness or things you might do. If you screw up the story because of that, then that's on you. The trailer, there's not really enough to say what this is. I think it's a pretty decent looking, you know, made for streaming series. So it's nowhere near the quality of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, which was probably, you know, 40% practical. This one seems 100% CG or green screen, as you say.
Right.
I think my real concern is why, you know, why is Amazon, why do the big studios need to go to the perfect things of the past or the great stories of the past and have to update it and to bring it to tell a current, you know, current messaging, add current messaging to it. And that's kind of what threw the internet into a storm, is that the producers or creators, you know, actually stated that it's like, you know, we need to take Lord of the Rings and make it reflective of these times. And I'm so not on board with that. And but ultimately, we have to see what it looks like. We have to see what it is before we can really make a judgment about it.
You hit the nail.
Let me just
Oh,
point
sure.
to No
Sure.
Time to Die, because the internet was in uproar about, you know, the black James Bond, female 007. I think after No Time to Die, I'm okay with a black female 007. I think I'm not okay with gender swapping James Bond himself or changing the race of James Bond. But
Well,
I'm much more on board with a different 007.
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head with that. It's just like I feel like with James Bond, they kind of pushed it, and they were like, it's gonna be super woke, and then it wasn't that woke. The thing was,
Yeah,
is she took over his designation of 007,
absolutely.
but that doesn't matter because James Bond is James
Hmm.
effing Bond. You can never take that away from James Bond.
Yeah.
So
They took away his 007 and he was still James Bond.
he was still James Bond. You can't, you know, and in a lot of the scenes with Daniel Craig, he kind of put her in her place, which I actually
Hmm.
really like. But with this one, what you said earlier, I think really hit like you're trying to update it to modern times. Stop doing it. Takes me out of it. You
Yeah.
know, if you're gonna make something that's historical, and this is not historical, right? It's
Yeah.
fantasy. You know, it should be accurate to the material. I'll say I can set that aside if the story and the characters resonate, but it had a generic quality to it. And
Hmm.
the way to know this, and I haven't seen anyone else point this out, go watch the trailer for the first Lord of the Rings movie before the movie came out, and then compare it to the Rings of Power. There's no comparison.
Hmm.
I was not a fan. I was not a fan of Lord of the Rings. Still have not read the books. I love those movies. And those movies are like comfort food, right? You
Yeah.
take it out, you put it on, and it's especially because it's almost wall to wall score. It's so good. And the music is so good. There's so many great like moments between characters, you know,
Yeah.
second breakfast. I mean, there's like quotable lines, you know, and I'm not, again, coming from a non fan. I
Hmm.
am what they call a normie. Now,
Yeah.
If we're going to talk Star Wars, Star Trek, we're going to talk Dune. That's where I'm a super fan of things, and I have deeper knowledge of those franchises. But Lord of the Rings, I'm not, and I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I saw those movies, blown away. The differences between the books and the movie obviously didn't mean anything to me because I hadn't read the books, and I do know a lot of people who nitpick even the Peter Jackson, you know, trilogy. But this is a prequel, and is it going to connect directly to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films? It doesn't seem so. It doesn't seem like it to me. So I don't know. I think updating it to modern times, I just think it almost like, and I've heard other people say this, it kind of takes you out of it. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
takes you out of it.
We-
It's like,
You know, I think what it is it's this fear that you know, I think society today is taking this attitude that Tolkien is no longer relevant, and that we need to update him. You know, I mean, we've
mhm,
practically canceled Mark Twain. it's a matter of time before Shakespeare gets his head cut off.
Right.
And it's like, there's some value, there's a great deal of value in the stories of the past. And I don't think you need to get rid of, I think it would be a shame to get rid of the stories of the past and only stick with the modern tales. Like my daughter, she was so upset the fact that, they made her read stories of King Arthur, but it was written by a contemporary writer who updated King Arthur, as opposed to going kind of the past and looking at those stories of the Round Table and the legends, the medieval legends of old.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I am open-minded.
Yep.
So I will check it out. Obviously, it's going to be the biggest thing that people are going to be discussing. I am a fan of those original 3 movies. I think The Hobbit was a letdown for a number of reasons. So we'll see. We've got Marcus Bismuth says the production costs intrigue me more than the show premise itself. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So there you go. We'll see with it. Again, I'm open-minded. So we'll find out now.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think we were pretty skeptical going into No Time to Die because of the marketing campaign.
Right.
Maybe that'll happen here.
Movies, movies, movies.